So how is Overwatch 2 doing? Not good, in a very spectacular fashion, in fact.
As many of you may know by now, Overwatch 2 is currently in a rather embarrassing position on Steam.
Yep.
It is currently the worst user-reviewed game on Steam ever in the platform's history. Looking at the review score now, it is sitting at
That is ridiculously impressive, by the way.
overwhelmingly negative from over 152,000 reviews. Among those reviews, only 9% have rated this game positively. The rest have given it a thumbs down. And you can see right here, there's a website that keeps track of the worst user-rated games on Steam ever, labeled the Hall of Shame. And Overwatch is taking the crown here with a 9%, with second place belonging to War of the Three Kingdoms at 12%. So this is a significant margin, and the fact that this is coming from over 152,000
Blizzard does everything to a spectacular level.
reviews makes this a very definitive, overwhelmingly negative review score. And things aren't faring much better on Metacritic, where the user score is sitting at 1.4 from 3,756 ratings on PC at least. And with the mass downvote,
and you know what? 100% deserved, without question.
Voting of the game on Steam in particular, it's something that caught the attention of Blizzard as they recently directly responded to this occurrence.
Leave it to Blizzard to make a bad situation just worse, because there is no response that they can give here that is not gonna be just laughed throughout the internet and mocked relentlessly.
As reported here by news outlet Kotaku, Blizzard's response was published on the official Overwatch website via the following blog post published on August 18th, 2023 by Aaron Keller, who's the director of Overwatch 2. He talks about the release of Overwatch 2 Invasion, which includes new heroes, a new mode, as well as the story missions that was supposed to be a part of a larger PvE experience that would have comprised of the story missions and the hero missions. But the hero missions, which a lot of people were looking forward to, has been scrapped.
Yep.
That was the mode where you were supposed to be able to customize your heroes through skill trees that you'd be able to customize to straight up change how your heroes play and then take them out on a wide variety of missions. All of that stuff turned out to be a lot more ambitious than Blizzard could realize, so they decided to scrap it altogether to the...
Okay, that's not a fair take. Blizzard, in actuality, didn't ever intend to deliver on that promise. We know that is fact. Blizzard very early on understood that, wait a minute, all of this, nah, that requires way too much effort. Let's just not even try to do it. And that was very, very early on when they made these promises. They never even attempted.
Disappointment of many, as that was what a lot of people were looking forward to and what was supposed to justify the 2 in Overwatch 2. But now Overwatch 2 feels like a glorified update to Overwatch 1. But you can see right here, the director talks about the new hero, Illari. He talks about the Flashpoint mode, the story missions, but he also addresses how we also launched on Steam last week, likely in an effort to boost Overwatch 2 players, to just bring in new audiences by releasing it on the more popular platform. They usually release games on just the Battle.net platform. That's just how Activision Blizzard has done things. But
the fact that they released it on Steam is just literal desperation, by the way. Because on Steam, you do not get to advertise your World of Warcraft renew subscription option. You don't get to advertise other games or any of that stuff. So that's a huge L for Blizzard to take knowingly.
But Overwatch 2's popularity has waned, so I feel like this is in part a strategy to try to draw more people into the game. So they launched on Steam last week, and although being review bombed, directly acknowledged here, isn't a fun experience, it's been great to see lots of new players jump into Overwatch 2 for the first time. So it seemed as though the strategy did work. Apparently they are seeing an influx of players, both because there's just new content, a new mode, a new hero, and story missions, and also because the game is just more accessible now. Our goal with Overwatch 2 has been to make the game more accessible than ever, there we go, for more people than ever before. Many of the reviews on Steam mention the
Such a lie. If that was true, the game wouldn't have a price tag attached to it, but it does.
cancellation of the much larger component of PvE, the hero missions, that was announced in 2019 as one of their primary reasons for dissatisfaction with the game. I love how they don't even mention hero missions anymore. They just say there's that one thing people keep talking about that shall not be named. It's the hero missions. I don't know why omit the name altogether. I get that, he says,
Hey, out of sight, out of mind.
that people are dissatisfied with the cancellation of that mode. That announcement was about an ambitious project that we ultimately couldn't deliver. But the thing is, this wasn't just something that was announced. It was like a flagship element of Overwatch 2 that was marketed over and over again and hyped up continuously before it was announced.
And again, hyped up, announced, marketed continuously, while they fully well knew it's not even in the realm of possibility of happening.
After the game's launch, that this PvE mode would be scrapped after people bought the game, and after they knew for months that this mode would be scrapped, but decided to not disclose that because they knew it might potentially impact the optics surrounding Overwatch 2 and could potentially impact the sales of Overwatch 2 during its launch period. So in that sense, it feels like a bit of a deception where they knew this was going to happen, and yet they decided to kind of drag people by the nose for a little bit before they're like, oh, by the way, surprise. And I have little doubt that this was a decision on the leadership side of things. I don't know how high up the ladder this decision goes, but somebody in the higher up elements of Activision Blizzard decided, let's not talk about this until it's the right time, until after people have bought the game. And let's not spoil the optics surrounding Overwatch 2 more than they already were. I mean, the optics were already not great when Overwatch 2 first launched. And when Overwatch 2 was announced and it was shown that it doesn't look like a huge step forward from Overwatch 1, but again, the hero missions, at the very least, people are like, okay, that's new and that seems substantial. So that, if they nail that, then maybe I'll be like, okay, this is Overwatch 2.
I think we're in a timeline where relying on Blizzard to do something properly is just absolutely out of the question. The fact that Dragonflight wasn't an absolute disaster and is the only not absolute disaster that Blizzard has done in, well, literal multiple years at this point, it seems like, I think that was just luck. Because, you know, you fail so many times, at some point you're just gonna get lucky and do something properly for a change. I think that is what Dragonflight is, and everything else is just as Blizzard usually does it, as an absolute failure. We saw the Diablo 4 devs talk about their game, never played the game, and yet they are in significant decision-making process lead. What a time to be alive.
Feels like a full-fledged PvE experience, but that's no longer the case. And so that puts Activision Blizzard and Overwatch, the IP, in an awkward position. He continues, if we can't turn back the clock, then what can we do? We can keep adding to and improving Overwatch 2.
Of course.
That is how we move forward. This means more maps, heroes, game modes, missions, stories, events, cool cosmetics and features.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone's so excited about the cool cosmetics they can get through buying the Battle Pass and the features that they can get through buying the Battle Pass. And the missions that are locked behind the Battle Pass. And the store that the store's probably the only free thing here. The events that most likely are going to be tied into the Battle Pass. The game modes, the heroes, the maps, the everything that is most likely going to be somehow tied to the Battle Pass and behind the Battle Pass.
Expanding, evolving, and improving game. This is the future of Overwatch. I think you forgot to mention the monetization elements that permeate the game and that in many ways corrupt the progression loop of the game and that sense of
no, Young, you completely missed this baby girl. It's the fact that they didn't even care to call this Overwatch 2, okay? You see, here it's Overwatch 2, and here they're just saying this is the future of Overwatch. No, this is the future of Overwatch 2. There's no more Overwatch. There's Overwatch 2. And the fact that the developers forget to add the 2 at the end just kind of tells you All you honestly need to know about the situation to understand what's happening.
Feeling like the game rewards you for the time that you invest in the game rather than just the money that you invest in it. There's just so much more stuff that feels like you have to pay for, and the fact that heroes aren't unlocked automatically for you unless you grind through the free battle pass or you pay $10 for
Free
the
battle
premium battle
pass.
pass that will unlock those heroes automatically, combined with a lot of the
There we
coolest
go.
cosmetics straight up just being paywalled, being impossible to earn, and just being a worse monetization system than freaking loot boxes from Overwatch 1, which is already controversial because it was essentially
Has anyone seen the? Actually, I'll check. He doesn't mention it. Has anyone seen the screenshots from Reddit where people are wishing the battle pass didn't exist and they could get back loot boxes because ironically enough loot boxes were a better mechanic than the battle pass? That's great. The whole of Reddit is like, man, I wish we had those loot boxes back because at least it was a little bit better.
gambling. Like it, that's the stuff that doesn't get mentioned here that really does affect every part of the long-term experience of this live service. And, I hope that they manage to pull it back somehow and that future content releases will really feel substantial enough where it'll rekindle my passion for Overwatch. But for my part, as someone who played Overwatch 1 heavily throughout the lifespan of that game, it was like my go-to
Okay, place your bets. What kind of main he was? Place your bets. Come on. I'm gonna say Mercy.
competitive shooter for a long time. At this stage, I just have no interest in the future of Overwatch. I'm so deflated by everything happening to this game, and I'm so not feeling hopeful about how all this will play out, and I'm so tired of the way the game keeps goading me into trying to spend more and more, and I'm just kind of tired of all of it, and I've moved
Welcome
on
to gaming.
greener pastures. But if they can bring it back somehow, if they can really improve the experience, great. But I'm still waiting for that to happen. And the addition of story missions that are, well made, especially where the cutscenes and the dialogue between characters is concerned, but ultimately isn't that big a deal, and they're fairly short, and they're charging $15 for these story missions after scrapping the hero missions PvE. All of that makes it
I'm surprised it's not 20, honestly.
something that I don't feel like I have to tune into. It makes me feel like I can skip the story missions and just not be invested in all of this, especially when the story missions are not a complete package, but rather the first chapter of many. It's not a full-fledged campaign. It is just the first episode, essentially. And they're going to charge $15, or I don't know if exactly $15, but they are going to charge money every time they release new story content. This has been confirmed. As reported by Kotaku here in their impressions piece of Overwatch 2 Invasion, every new set of story missions will need to be purchased in order to access them, which is complete bullshit. This is starting to feel like it'll become more and more like Destiny.
What a great time to be a Blizzard fanboy. I mean, like, wow.
Destiny 2, where it's not necessarily free to play, but rather free to access. And if you really want the full breadth and depth of content, you do have to shell out money. Free-to-play players are not going to get the complete experience. And it'd be one thing if the story missions were really substantial and really rich in content, but we're talking about 3 story missions that are $15 in price, and the only...
At some point, we're going to get to the point where Blizzard releases, like, one 5-minute long mission that's worth $15. It's going to happen. You know it's gonna happen. At some point, Blizzard is just gonna be like, you know what? They're buying this crap anyway. Let's just make one 3-minute mission, and no cutscenes, no dialogue. It's just you run through a corridor. Bam, $15. You know that's gonna happen.
Thing that might make this bundle worth it, this Overwatch 2 Archives bundle that gives you permanent access to the Invasion story missions, is if you were planning to get the Battle Pass to begin with, because this does give you 1,000 Overwatch coins, which can buy you the premium battle pass. So if that was your plan, this bundle technically costs you $5. But given the bad will that's been generated by Overwatch 2, and given that the goal is to draw in more players, them locking the story missions, which is a substantial piece of content for this free-to-play game, behind a paywall.
I mean, what's the point of drawing in new players, by the way, honestly? Everyone knows what Overwatch is. Everyone knows how bad Blizzard is as a company. No new player is going to be like, oh, I wonder what this game is. I have never heard of this Overwatch and Blizzard. I wonder what they're all... No one is like that. They know that everyone knows how bad Blizzard is.
All just seems like a really tone-deaf idea. Impressions surrounding the story missions themselves range from, actually, it's pretty good, to, meh, they're fine. Nobody says it's like earth-shattering. Nobody's saying like this is going to be what brings you back to Overwatch 2. But generally there's a sentiment of, okay, like these missions do feel like challenging and fun, and the cutscenes are cool, and the story developments are nice and all that. But ultimately, when it comes to the question of is it worth your money, here's a piece by Kotaku where they're like, I don't know. I don't think so, really. Scrolling further down the Kotaku...
Bro, when Kotaku is not chilling for a big company, wow. Wow, you know something's wrong.
Article elaborates further. Is the $15 extra cost worth it? Well, heroes are locked behind the battle pass. You have to grind for them through the free battle pass or fork over $10 for the premium one, which grants you immediate access to the newest character. Legendary skins, which used to be found in loot boxes you could either earn or pay for, are difficult to get now without forking over money. Best skins often shown in the trailers for new seasons are only available for purchase in the in-game store. And every new set of story missions will need to be purchased in order to access them. The game already feels way too monetized as it is, and the fact that they're just adding an extra layer through substantial content that's not just...
Well, Young, you need to understand, when you're buying a car, you're not actually buying a car. You're buying the wheels, you're buying the hood, you're buying every piece of the engine. You're not buying just the car, my friend, you see? But in Overwatch's case... It's similar. Only the difference is, when you buy Overwatch, it's like you buy a car without wheels. And then you buy the wheels later on. You see? You see? You see?
It's cosmetics, but rather a substantial aspect of the game, the story missions, the fact that they're paywalling that, like that is gameplay affecting stuff right there. You know what I mean? It's experience affecting stuff, and they're going to do it every time they release new story content. If they would have shipped a full-fledged campaign experience with the story missions and alongside that the PvE hero missions, then it would have felt like a complete enough package where they could have gotten away with charging extra for that substantial piece of PvE.
I wouldn't even call that a complete package, honestly.
Content, but this is a shadow of what was originally promised. And $15 for that? Like, come on. And for them to do that every time, however much they're going to charge for these story missions with new releases, I imagine it's going to be $15 every time, but I don't know for sure. Like, come on. And yeah, these story missions, they aren't that long. They're like 20 to 30 minutes each is what the general consensus.
Oh boy, if you can, dude, if you can charge $15 for 15 minutes of gameplay, you know they're going to lower the bar. You know it's not actually that hard to lower the story mission time to like 10 minutes or something. Oh my god, Blizzard is just going in swinging. They know what's up. They know it doesn't matter.
Has been, so an hour and a half experience tops. And yeah, there are multiple difficulties, and you can challenge yourself by tackling them in the hardest difficulty. And that, you know, you can potentially get more hours out of it. But the base experience of, you know, getting through the missions as if it were a campaign experience, you're really only talking about an hour and a half worth of gameplay. And even when it comes to replayability, some would argue that the replayability is questionable. As for what other outlets have been saying about the Overwatch 2 story missions, well, here's Digital Trends, who said that the missions did live up to the players' expectations, even if it still feels like we're only getting a part of a greater whole. It does not feel like...
This is how game companies get away with this crap. Because Blizzard fanboys are not 1 3-minute cinematic away from forgetting everything bad that Blizzard has done, including killing your dog. No. Blizzard fanboys are just... one shitty, unrealistic promise away done on Twitter from completely forgiving Blizzard for all the wrongs that they have done.
A complete arc or a complete story or a complete campaign. It feels like only the first act of a larger story. JJ Trent straight up says here that the most disappointing aspect of Overwatch 2 story missions is that the story itself isn't complete at release, which is what like Anthem suffered from. Here's an impressions piece from .e.
Anthem suffered from the fact that it was a game that was made in like literally 2 months because everyone was just shitting around in that development studio, not doing anything because no one had any idea what they're actually supposed to get done. But at least they got paid.
Esports, they say that both fans of Overwatch lore and FPS players addicted to a challenge will find a lot to enjoy with Invasion's missions. Again, the content itself is not bad, it's just not substantial enough to justify the price point. Not to mention that .esports brings up the point of if these missions had released when Overwatch was at the apex of its popularity and positive sentiments, it would have gone down better. I just can't help but wonder if the excitement for these PvE missions would have been way more palpable several years ago. It just feels like these missions would have been better served years ago while the game was at the peak of its popularity. Other outlets like PC Game Zen have pointed out that, once again, the story missions are charming and they're not bad at all. They can be fun for how long they last, but the weight of expectations hangs heavy. This editor's experience is that the missions themselves are a whole lot of fun, but there is the shadow that looms in regards to the hero missions that aren't made up for by the story missions because nothing in these missions is truly revolutionary. They're fun and all, but
of
nothing...
course it's not revolutionary. You can't expect Blizzard to do anything revolutionary. Look at World of Warcraft. They tried revolutionary there. Look where it got them to. It got them to a point where even a good expansion does not draw back the people that they lost for shitty decision after shitty decision after shitty decision. Not to mention, no one's actually expecting the next expansion of World of Warcraft to be an actual dub. Everyone probably thinks it's gonna be shit because Dragonflight was accidentally good.
Groundbreaking, nothing earth-shattering, nothing worth saying now's the time to play Overwatch 2. Nothing to make up for the fact that, unfortunately for Invasion, its arrival among the greater context of the Overwatch 2 PvE's long-standing saga, referring to the hero missions, makes it feel perhaps more important than it could possibly ever have lived up to. This article also echoes sentiments that what's here is neat, but is it $15 neat? But is it $15 neat? No. As a one-off package presented as the first true arrival of Overwatch 2 PvE and with a $15 minimum buy-in price, I think a lot of players will feel underwhelmed by what Invasion has to offer. And finally, here we have
I wish I could say just don't buy it, but you're gonna buy it.
Have an article from The Verge which had a more tepid response to the Invasion event, saying that Overwatch 2 needs a win. The Invasion event, at best, is a draw. This article criticizes Flashpoint for its simplicity and it being too similar to existing game types. It just didn't work for this particular editor. Scrolling further down, the article makes mention of the story missions being just okay. I didn't really feel like the story itself was doing anything new, especially with respects to the characters. I returned to this game over and over specifically.
Well, of course, the story missions are not going to add anything to the characters. The characters are bland, one-dimensional, and lame. It's not exactly like you can add something to them. If Blizzard actually... Like, here's the hot take, okay? The hot take is, if Blizzard actually tries and develop on their characters, they're not exactly going to get fought, okay? Tracer's personality, at one point, was literally just her ass. Now her personality is full on the fact that she's a lesbian. And I'm not even joking. That is literally, sadly, her only personality trait at this point. Which kind of slides in America, but the rest of the world kind of would like a little bit more of a person.
Specifically because of the characters, I'd hoped the missions would offer me some new nugget to latch onto, and it didn't. Now, it is clarified here that the story missions aren't bad, which is what everyone's saying. Nothing about the story missions are offensive. They're neat. They're fun. They're a nice little thing to go through if you're still playing Overwatch 2. They're actually a pleasant...
By the way, also, the problem with these story missions, the way that they are described, I have no idea. I haven't obviously played them. The problem with these story missions that they're going to run into, probably on the next release of the story missions, by the way, is the fact that people are going to figure out, wait a minute, This is the exact same bland stuff that we did the last time. Nothing really is changing. It's the same mechanics, probably even honestly same enemies, same objectives, same everything. You're just paying 15 bucks essentially for the same experience that you already had one time without anything new added to it. That's it. That's what people are going to figure out, by the way.
Pleasant if ho-hum experience exacerbated by the fact that I was playing with bots, but 3 20 to 30 minute missions that essentially repackage the typical Overwatch quick play experience in admittedly gorgeous new locations is a tough buy for someone looking to fall in love with the game again, especially since you have to pay an extra $15 for it. Yeah, these same sentiments you can see are echoed over and over and over again by numerous outlets. And then on Reddit, when it comes to community sentiments, there's somebody here asking if Invasion was worth $15 for you. There are folks saying that it was worth $5. This individual was going to buy the Battle Pass, so that $10 value offered by the fact that the package, the $15 package, gives you 1,000 coins to buy the next Battle Pass makes it technically a $5 expense for this individual. For $5, this person's like, you know, yeah, for $5 it was worth it.
This person doesn't even understand that he got baited into buying it.
Some people did have a great time with the character interactions, the game cutscenes, and all that, but gameplay-wise, it may not appeal to players who aren't fans of hold out this spot and defend waves of attackers, which is what the entirety of the gameplay ultimately comprises. There's no fascinating and cool, like, level...
Oh boy, it took Overwatch so long to, you know, do what Team Fortress 2 did so long ago. Ain't that sad?
Design stuff per se, it's more about the set pieces and the cutscenes, the character interactions, and the bombastic nature of the expanded levels and all these things, which, you know, might satisfy some, but for $15, it's certainly not going to satisfy the masses. Others complain about the length of the story missions. They were fun, but they're far too short. I completed them in a couple hours, and they don't leave much incentive to go back and play them again. Replayability is, in fact, called into question. I'm happy with 1,000 credits and Soj skin, though. So overall, I can't complain. So again, those who are existing Overwatch 2 players...
I mean, it's Overwatch Reddit. What are they gonna do? Call the game bad? Of course not. They would probably die from heartburn or something.
And are still going through the battle passes and are going through the grind and are just looking for more reasons to keep them engaged. Like, it'll serve them well enough, but for...
it's not gonna last. You know it, Young. You absolute man of the world. Anyway, that's pretty much it, I guess. This was Quizzer Says. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy your Overwatch. And that's Young, yeah, obviously. Bye-bye.